I'm Mila. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and in today's video, I want to talk about Diabetic Alert Dogs, aka dads. So let's start talking about the little goodish puppers. But before we get on to the sweet doggos, though, this is all different. I know. I moved back home for Thanksgiving break, the last week of classes for the fall semester, the fall or the winter break, and then January. So this will all be like this with probably some like tweaks and things until February, early February. So I get to kind of match my wall until then, I guess. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, so now let's get into the doggos. I love, love, love dogs. I love them so much. And diabetic alert dogs are dogs specifically for diabetics. They're a type of service dog that help keep anyone with diabetes, type 1 or type 2. And they're trained to smell changes in your blood chemistry related to how much or how little sugar is in your blood. And that's just really cool. So I don't know exactly how they do it, but the amount of sugar that's in your blood is related to how much sugar is in your cells. So more sugar in your cells means less sugar in your blood, and vice versa, I guess. So if a dog can smell, hey, there's a lot of sugar in that person's blood, that means there's nothing allowing the sugar into the cells. So their insulin's probably wonky. Dogs can tell you that. And they're trained to alert the owner different ways. So I've read of diabetic alert dogs jumping on people or bringing them a specific toy or like pawing at them or like nuzzling them with their noses or stuff like that. Just depending on what's going on with the person's body. And like just like the two different like hypos or hypers, whatever it's alerting to. Of course, these dogs are not replacements for other methods of measuring your blood sugar, but they can keep it easier for people with diabetes to keep their sugars under control, which is awesome. Because I know I am petrified that my pump is just going to be like, no, we're not going to work properly. And I know that's probably an irrational fear. However, my CGM used to fail on me a lot, and I still wear that CGM. So, and the pump is related to the CGM, so it's kind of like a little ball of anxiety that's probably not gonna happen, but you know, the thing with anxiety is that it's your brain telling you something's gonna happen when it's not. It's great. Um, so the first thing I know I wanted to know when I found out about dads was how can I get one? So what you want to start doing first is look at research about the abilities of diabetic alert dogs so that you know, um, like, if they'll work for you, like all that kind of stuff. So I have found and linked below some information that has conflicting data on them. Um, there are two studies. So the NPR article I've linked talks about these two studies that show that the dogs aren't better at detecting hypos and hypers than random chance, which isn't, you know, that's not good. um, Sometimes, you know, a dog's a creature. It's not going to be on all the time. That's not how they work. They're not magic. They are not a machine. So, expecting a dog to be able to tell you 24/7, 365, hey, your sugar is great or not, is a lot to ask. There are other studies, of course, and I believe this was also talked about in the NPR article I've linked, claiming that the dogs do the opposite, that they're better than random chance and they're really good at doing what they do. And there was some controversy over who paid for that study, because it was like people who are involved in the training of these dogs that you know, paid for the study. So there's some like ethical things there. But you know, look into it. It's interesting. There was another study done. I think this was also talked about in the NPR article. Not sure though. I'll have to check. Regardless, all of the articles I've used to find all of this information will be linked down below. There's 3 of them. Um, so look for those in the description. There's some research that shows that regardless of how well a dog actually alerts a handler about their blood sugar, um, diabetics who have diabetic alert dogs have better control over their blood sugar values. And the research thought that this was probably because diabetics with diabetic alert dogs have a constant reminder on them. Um, like in the same way that I have a constant reminder with my pump, and that people with CGMs have constant reminders with their CGMs. Um, but that a dog is friendlier and you're more likely to, you know, think, oh, I should check my blood sugar if you've got, you know, diabetic service dog with you. That's like maybe acting a little funny, like they're about to alert, but they're not quite sure. Um, it's just like a nice little reminder that's really friendly and cute and lovable that you have with you all the time. So that's why they think this is the way it is. Like people with diabetic alert dogs just having better control over their numbers, regardless of how well the dog's alerted. Um, so that's just kind of interesting. So you know, you gotta weigh the you have to weigh the pros and the cons of getting a diabetic alert dog, definitely. And you need to start with the research and keep your expectations in check about having a diabetic alert dog. So just keep that in mind. You should also be aware of the cost of getting one of these dogs. From what I have read, they are typically between $8,000 and $20,000 American. That is very expensive. And there are some places that will give diabetic alert dogs to diabetics if they qualify, but you have to find like the right places for that, and you know, do your due diligence there. That is a tongue twister. Geez. You also need to look for a reputable company to get and train your dog for you. They should be able to get the dog to you and do a home visit so that, you know, they can make sure that the dog isn't spooked by anything in your home and is actually a good fit for your family and your lifestyle. You need to be trained on how to communicate with your dog as well. So they need to do home visits for that reason too. So yeah, look for a reputable company. Some of the some of the web pages I have linked below actually link to the sites of some of the companies that, you know, train these dogs. So the information's out there. You just have to follow like a little link clicking trail, I guess. One downside to this industry, as I'm gonna call it, there's no national standard for diabetic alert dogs to be trained by. There's no like one big national organization, as far as I can tell, saying yes, this is, you know, the frequency at which they have to get the correct, like do the correct alert for for this hypo or hyper. There's no like national standard. It just kind of depends on the trainer and the people who are, you know, helping to train the dogs and do all that kind of stuff with them. Um, so in the NPR article, the reporter interviews an elderly woman who has type 1, and she got a diabetic alert dog, but the dog shouldn't have been a service dog. The dog was like jumpy around people and was easily frightened by wind and umbrellas opening and stuff like that. And that's not how service dogs should behave. They need to be calm, cool, and collected in public and not easily frightened. And like, there's a certain way that service dogs should behave. And that is not how they should not be jumpy at all. They should be like, basically not pretending that they don't exist, but like they shouldn't be like, oh my god, what is all that? Ah! Like they shouldn't act like that. That's not how service dogs period should act. It's just not. Service dogs, you know, should tuck themselves away when their person is in a restaurant or something like that. Like, you can see how service dogs are supposed to be trained, and they're very obedient dogs. They do beautifully out in public if they're trained properly, and this one wasn't. So if you're interested more in that story, the link is in the description. I've referenced this article a lot, but you'll be able to tell which one it is because it's the one from NPR. Um, so yeah, so a diabetic alert dog might help someone remember to check their numbers more frequently, and the dog may alert someone to a high or low blood sugar, but they also might not react to highs and lows, and that's not good. They're not machines. You can't really expect them to be perfect because they're living, breathing creatures just like the rest of us. So, yeah, we may tell them, who's the bestest boy? Who's the most perfect thing in the world? And they're not. They're, living, breathing creatures. So that's just something to keep in mind. Personally, I would love to have a diabetic alert dog, but I don't think one would be a very good fit for me. I do have a pump, and that is actually programmed to alert me 24/7, 365 when I have highs and lows. And if there's any issues, it lets me know. Um, so as long as my CGM is accurate and working properly, the pump is accurate and working properly. That's a big if. I know. There have been several times where I've been kind of frightened because it's clear that my pump or my CGM isn't working. I remember, what year was it? My sophomore year of school. I was taking an organic chemistry exam, and I was nervous for the exam already, which didn't help. But when I got to the exam, I started taking it, and my CGM started going off. And I was like, shut up. Like, I was trying to get it to be quiet and, like, not really worried about it because I felt fine. I didn't think I had any issues going on. But it was like, you're so low, you should be passed out. Like, that's how low it was telling me I was. So I stopped taking the test halfway through time. Like, we had an hour to take the test, and I only took half an hour on it. I did very poorly on this test. Is it any wonder? But I left the classroom then, and I then did a finger stick because I didn't believe my CGM. I felt completely fine. And it was freaking out on me. And it turns out my blood sugar was over 200 because I was so nervous, and I hadn't taken enough insulin at breakfast because I had just trusted I just trusted my CGM when I probably should have done a finger stick, but I didn't know it wasn't working. So, it's just kind of like a weird situation. That wasn't a particularly good stick, I guess. So, 9.9 times out of 10 is a lot better than a dog who needs to sleep, eat, use the bathroom, go for walkies, and, have playtime, who can't be paying attention to me 24/7 the same way my pump can. So that's why I don't think a service dog would be a really good fit for me, is because I already have a pump. Having a living, breathing, barking pump would be fun and adorable, and I would love it a lot. But if I can trust this more than I can trust, a dog, then I'm gonna trust my my very expensive piece of equipment. But if you think a diabetic alert dog would be a good option for you, I empower you to do the research, look for companies that have good reviews and people have said, hey, this company worked really well with me. Look for what's out there and look into it, because I know if I had gotten diabetes as a child, I would have loved to have a diabetic service dog. I think it would have made having diabetes a lot less scary, because you have this companion with you, and who, aside from people who have had traumatic experiences with dogs, who doesn't love a dog? They're so sweet and they're so cute and they're just lovable. Um, so yeah, that's just about that is everything I wanted to talk about today. If you want to learn more about diabetes from a patient perspective, please subscribe below. If you liked the video, please click the like button and please comment down below telling me what kind of service dogs you're like interested in or curious about. I know I didn't really know diabetic service dogs were a thing before, I want to say last summer. So yeah. And if you like knew about diabetic service dogs, I guess, what kind of breed would you want your diabetic service dog to be? If any breed could do diabetic service dog work, what kind of breed would you want? They are typically dogs that need long noses, so hounds and sporting breeds like that are typically what people pick. But I know personally, I really wanted a corgi diabetic alert dog, and I still kind of do. I love corgis; they're super adorable. So, in my perfect world, I would have a corgi diabetic alert dog with me all the time. So comment down below telling me what you want. As always, I will see you all in a couple of weeks. Stay healthy. Bye.